I should get that off. Hey, how's everyone doing tonight? Thank you for joining us on the political deep dive. Actually, let me get rid of this echo here. There we go. Less echo. There we go. Hey, Dave Valente, thank you for joining us on the political deep dive. The Super Bowl post game extravaganza is tonight. I hope you all enjoyed the game. It was a very tight game. Cincinnati. Once again, this is the third time that Cincinnati has been in the Super Bowl against a California-based team and came up just short. So, lost on a last-second touchdown. First two were to Joe Montana, and one was Jerry Rice, and the other one was John Taylor. And then this time it was a last-second drive by Matthew Stafford, long-suffering quarterback of the Detroit Lions, who received salvation by being traded off to the LA Rams this offseason and pays immediate dividends for the Rams franchise as they win their second Super Bowl by a score of 23-20. Great game. And wow, I will say the halftime show was awesome, but the commercials were kind of so. Anyway, let's bring on our guest. Ari Gabrek, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing, Dave?
I'm doing great. Thank you for joining us tonight. I know you didn't actually watch the game, did you?
No. Let's go sports ball.
All right, excellent. Hey, we're happy to have you on the show. You're going to be talking about data analytics and your activism within the LP. And let me bring on the other person that is on our show, and that is Mr. Dan Fishman. How you doing, sir?
What's up, guys?
Hey, Dan.
I'm excited to talk to you. Although,
all right,
I will say that I'm disappointed in the Bengals, but whatever.
Go sports boot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm disappointed for the Bengals in the fact that they are this is their third time in the Super Bowl, and all three Super Bowls have come down to the last minute scoring drives by their opponents, and they've always just been really, really close. Like before the Broncos won their Super Bowl late in the '90s, the Broncos were never in any of the games that any of the Super Bowls they were in until they won it. Buffalo is a different animal in that they went 4 times. The first one was very close. That was their best opportunity. They're playing a backup quarterback, and then wide right on at the end of the game. But the other 3 were just blowouts.
Yeah.
Although the last one wasn't a bad game. But Cincinnati's just had their heart ripped out 3 times in the last minute, and I feel sorry for them. So
I do, but they'll be back. That's a young, good team.
Burrow's a stud. I mean, he's cocky, and I think a lot that might turn off a lot of people. Although he's kind of a personable cockiness.
Yeah, I mean, then you saw him make a couple young mistakes.
Yeah,
like there was one play when he should have thrown it at the receiver's feet, the running back's feet, or thrown it out of bounds. Instead, the guy gets tackled for a 3-yard loss, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he'll get better, but the physical gifts are all there.
Oh, yeah. The physical gifts were all there when he was at LSU. I mean, he was dominated that year.
I remember I followed LSU for a while, seeing that I'm actually from New Orleans.
Yes.
And LSU are some of the few players that I actually end up watching. That and Tulane.
Tulane has the best uniforms. I love their color scheme.
Tulane is fantastic. And I'm not just biased because I'm going to be going there. Oh, no, wait. I might be just a little bit.
No, that green, that seafoam green and the light blue, I love their uniforms. Whenever even though they're kind of an abysmal football team, I love watching their game.
Yeah, they suck.
I was going to say, every year, one of the magazines, I don't remember which one, comes out with a ranking of the best college party schools. And, they go through a whole bunch of different things about what makes them the best. And then the caveat at the end of every year is LSU is not included on this list because college is about amateur sports and LSU is in the professional level of being a party school.
Yes. That is accurate.
I would say that probably the hardest partying school that I ever saw was Arizona State. I went to their campus. I'm a nerd, so I'm doing a speech and debate tournament at Arizona State my freshman year, and my first freshman year. And I have a friend that's living on campus because I went to school in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So we had some folks that rolled out to Arizona State for school. So I went to visit him in his dorm, and it was Saturday morning, and like my campus didn't have. I mean, you had alcohol in the room, so everybody had alcohol in the room. This dorm on campus had kegs in the hallway.
Wow.
Tapped kegs. So they're dead. They had boxes of beer and beer cans all over the place. I've never seen a school party that hard. So I will always put Arizona State up against any school, but I could imagine a Louisiana school, especially like New Orleans, would have a good party reputation.
Yep.
Oh, and we're in the Mardi Gras season right now.
Oh yeah.
And so it goes clear from 12th night, which is in January, now all the way out to the first week of March.
Now, I've heard your mayor's being kind of a dick about marching and the parades and stuff.
Don't get me started.
Well, don't fuck with Mardi Gras. Like,
we have now missed 2 Mardi Gras in a row, and I'll be blunt. I'm glad there's less police. That makes me inordinately happy. But then the police aren't opening it up for allowing volunteers to be able to guard the marching routes. Like the crew that I used to belong to, and then I've done stuff for in the past, Chewbacca's, their route got cut in half. Yes,
that's awful.
Chewbacca's.
That is a fantastic name. But that's awful. Like, because your roots, they actually help support the community, right? Like, they go to local businesses and things like that. I mean, why are you hamstringing your own community? Like, I just don't get that.
I don't understand it, because like the restaurants and the bars and the different locations and businesses have been setting all of their own needed stuff even before the pandemic. And they were very, very good at setting their own policies. And with the whole way that it's been used, it's been weaponized. And it's been a nightmare. We've had Pride canceled now twice in a row. We've had Decadence canceled for twice in a row. One of our larger races, which was the Red Dress Run, was canceled twice in a row. And these are all GSM oriented stuff. So it's been bad. The people who are getting in are those who can lobby and who can press for things. So Munchkin says hi.
Hi, Munchkin.
Hey, Munchkin.
So, and we'll get into. We'll get into some of the political responses to COVID and all this stuff, because there have been some news stories that have generated this week, particularly with Canada and at least some of the more left-leaning areas are starting to ease their lockdowns and ease their mandates and all that stuff. So it'll be I think that'll be a good conversation when we get to it, just talking about the what the response is to moving forward. So Dan, what was your favorite commercial of the night?
Coinbase. QR codes finally standing up.
Oh man, I just saw that and I was like, I am not gonna scan a coin. I don't.
You're not, because you're a tech guy.
Yeah,
but this was not for you and for me. It was for the people who haven't used QR codes for anything other than menus in the last 10 years.
Yeah, but everybody hates menu QR codes.
No, that's not true either. Menu QR codes.
personally love menu QR codes because I hate touching menus.
Menu QR codes are here to say more than that. The digital menu is what's actually going to happen. You're not going to have wait people coming to your table anymore and taking your orders.
Oh, I mean that happens now with the little. If you go to like an Applebee's or a TGI Fridays, they get the little box there that you can
Right.
order from now.
Right.
I don't know. I just saw the thing floating around there, and I'm like, y'all spent money on this.
It was. I liked it because I want more people to use QR codes because they're really good things for exactly that. When you want to put something into somebody's phone. Now, there's an interesting thing that you could put if you had a good optical scanner on your camera, it could read it. But this is so much more concise, and knowing a lot about QR codes and how they're made, there's a lot of redundancy in them. So even if you only get about 25% of the QR code, you will still get the message, depending on what it is and how big it is. But it makes it a very efficient means for a lot of things. Like, for example, I bought a tractor about 4 months ago. Didn't come with a manual, came with a QR code. Scan it, tractor manual. That sort of thing was really good. I like the Austin Powers. That was good. I like Colin Jost, the Amazon one, and I can't remember his wife's name now. But
oh yeah, that one's funny. The fake my own death on March 8th.
Right. Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
And what else did I like?
I like the Seth Rogen one. That was pretty
Rudd.
good. Yeah,
I've never seen any of your movies.
Even the ones we've been in.
Exactly. Look at the ones we've been in together. That was very good. What else? Pretty good. It wasn't anything earth shattering. The E-Trade one was good just because I know the history. So we almost bought a Super Bowl ad back in 2000 when I was working at Palm. And at the time, it was $2 million for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And in the end, we decided not to do it. And that was the year that E-Trade ran their ad with like the monkey clapping like this. And then it said, well, we just wasted $2 million. We advise you to invest your money better. Try E-Trade. That was a good ad. And so to see them come back around to that, 22 years later, that was nice.
I almost seems to me though that Super Bowl ads have become much, much safer than they used to be. Like to me, the height of all Super Bowl ads of all time has to be Terrible Terry Tate and the Office linebacker. I thought those were the funniest Super Bowl ads ever. And they got pulled because some people complained that it promoted an office violent culture. And I never, while I understood that, sometimes there's some people that in your office that you want to, spear tackle, you just can't do that.
You're talking about the Terry Tate linebacker ones?
Yeah. Terry Tate
were amazing though.
They were the best.
Come on, Phyllis. You kill the Joe. You make the Mo. You know that, baby.
The pain train's coming. Woo-woo! Woo-woo!
Those were amazing.
Do you remember the ones from that one like puppet dog that smoked?
Yes.
Oh, Triumph, the insult dog.
Triumph.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I loved those. But yeah, we like none of these commercials to me will, like 10 years from now, people are like, oh, you remember that one commercial?
Except that there's going to be a huge storm over the Uber Eats one. Because, like, remember how Tide got into trouble because they made that ad saying, don't eat the Tide Pods? And then, like, everybody ate the Tide Pods and it ended humanity. Uber Eats is going to be the same thing of like, we saw people eating kitty litter on TV, so we thought we'd try it. Thanks, Uber Eats.
That was actually one of the better commercials. I really did like that one. Just especially the kitty litter, like, why Uber Eats? Why? And then, like kitty litter flying out of his mouth. That was epic. That was
really good.
But we've gotten to the point where I think we're just so concerned about the message we're sending in these ads that we're pulling back. And I think pushing the envelope is good. As long as we don't get the Quiznos Rats ads anymore. Do you remember those? Dan?
But yeah, the Quiznos. Well, they did. They weren't rats though, right? But they sang that song.
No, they were
We
dead
love the
rats.
moon. That
They were
one.
like dead. They were dead rats. Those were dead rats, and they just superimposed a face on them.
So I didn't know that, but I had seen that before it was a Quiznos ad. It had been a viral video where they sang, "We love the moon,
Yeah,
because it is white and floating. We love the moon."
yeah. That group did like a couple of like if Quiznos had really researched it, like there was some really off, very blue color comedy music videos that they did. Um, uh, one where they were just, I think one song was called "Anal Linkage."
Pretty fun.
That sounds as colorful as one of my favorite punk bands.
Yeah. So yeah, I think of the ads, the Uber Eats was as memorable as it's going to get. The oh, and Julie Abel joined us. Julie, I'm sorry about your Bengals. They'll be back. Yeah, and
Yeah,
Dan
for
and I
sure.
think they're going to be back. Burrow's a stud. So
Can I make a 2-second comment?
yeah,
Who dat?
who day?
Who day?
Oh, you're who dat, right?
Who dat Nation?
Who dat, and they're who day.
Yeah.
Yes.
My central school, my middle school in Galveston, we were the Bearcats, and our chant was, "Who dat talking about beating them Bearcats? Who dat? Who dat?"
Yeah, that's y'all can end up stealing this stuff from the Saints, but we do it 10 times better. I'm sorry.
See, now if the Saints were in the Super Bowl, would you have been watching?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I still I keep away from it because of just the massive amounts of corporatism with it. And just I'm more of a baseball fan than I am football. Saints I will go slightly out of my way for, but they had the game rigged on them this last time, and the referees can go and screw themselves.
Now, speaking of corporate, I watched I said today, America's most beloved sports program is on today, and that was Puppy Bowl number 18 on Animal Planet today. I love it. Now, if you want to complain about corporatism, though, that is basically just one long commercial.
It is.
The
But it's
schnauzers,
adorable.
the schnauzers in particular, have this agenda
Yeah.
about getting the government out of maintaining rent-free apartments. The schnauzers believe, more in a Friedman type approach. And anyway,
But no, I mean,
I am partial. I'm partial to the kitten halftime.
oh, me too. Oh, yes, as much as and we'll get into the main Super Bowl halftime show here in a minute, but as excited as I was to see the main Super Bowl halftime show, my favorite always is the Kitty halftime show. Kitty halftime spectacular. They were, but it was too short to me. Like they were only on for like 3 minutes, and then they were back to the dogs. Now the dogs were adorable, and the dogs, always love watching the main game. But when they start showing kitties, I kind of melt down. And of course, my cat is sitting there on the Chase Lounge with me watching the game. So, I'm living my best life watching Animal Planet today. So,
Guys,
did you watch any of it, Dan?
I did not watch any of it. Oh, wait. Which thing? I watched the regular halftime show.
Regular halftime show, yeah. All right, so let's talk about the regular halftime show. You know what? All of us Gen Xers are going to have to be taking ibuprofen in the morning because we're all jumping around to the DOGG, man. It was like, that was a great show.
I lost both my proposition bets on the halftime show. So I did a proposition bet that Snoop would smoke on stage, which he did not. And I took a proposition bet that Eminem would have to be censored, which he was not. So very unfortunate.
No, I don't think there was any censorship on the show.
Nope, none at all.
Yeah.
I come into it that I was slightly disappointed because there were supposed to be 2 featured deaf rappers. And like it was so quick and it was so short. I was really disappointed. Like you could barely see them.
I didn't
Um,
see that.
yeah,
I didn't
so
know. I didn't know that they were going to be part of the show.
yeah, so like it was basically blink and you miss. And um I'm hard of hearing. I started taking sign language here this last year,
Uh-huh.
and my professor ended up cluing me into this happening, and it was just Snoop was fantastic because
Yeah.
well he's Snoop, but at the
Still
same
got the
time
flow.
I get disappointed because like they parade this around and they prop this up and then it's next to nothing.
Yeah, that sounds like they were just trying to do something to, kind of check a box, but not really actually do something that would have been cool. Like,
Yeah.
I think I would have been like, oh, that's cool. I would have put him over Kendrick Lamar. That's for damn sure. Kendrick Lamar had no business being
Yeah,
amongst.
I thought that was crazy too, but they just wanted to have somebody young because everybody else was so old, right?
No,
I
I
mean,
mean that should have been a classic rap. And then maybe a couple of years from now, then you have like a young mumble rap halftime show.
yeah,
Uh, uh,
whatever it was weird. And then the other thing about it was like seeing him stand up there. I didn't realize he was so short
yeah,
because I mean, if you're shorter than Eminem, you're short.
Yes.
But
Very.
other than that, I mean, I thought it was a good show. Like I said, I
oh,
mean,
great.
it was designed for people like me, 54 years old. So I appreciated it.
Yeah, I mean, it was the genetic. I mean, well, I think we're in that solid age now that Dan's 54, I'm 48.
Right.
Uh, we're in that age where marketers are using our music to market to us now.
Right.
It's no longer 50s and 60s music. It's no longer 70s music. It's kind of 80s and more now, 90s now, which is
Right.
blowing my mind. I'm gonna start doing the young whippersnapper stuff here soon.
Well, because the thing
I'm the
about it is,
millennial. I'm the millennial here. Like I'm going to be 39 in April. So I'm still 38. And even seeing that, even seeing Snoop coming on is just I think he's back to Snoop Dogg again.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Cuz he was doing a lot of Rastafari stuff there when he was Snoop Lion. He was doing a lot of like reggae styled stuff.
I don't know if he was trying to get out of a. I mean, you remember when Prince was, did the symbol thing, the artist formerly known as Prince. He was doing that to get out of a record contract.
Yep.
Like they didn't want it. He didn't want them to use his name, so he made them use that symbol. And I wonder if Snoop was doing that to on the same thing. I never really got the full story of um, why he did that, but
I don't know. People sometimes change their names every once in a while.
I approve of everybody picking the name that they want.
exactly.
I do
Yeah.
too. Like we should be getting government out of telling people when and how they should change their names.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
The one other interesting thing about it was that I wish that they'd played like, I mean, of those artists, that they played any of their more modern work. Then we just saw like their oldest stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, it is what it is. The funny thing about it is that I was chatting, texting with other people during the thing. Most kids don't know Snoop as a musician, right? They know him as a guy who sells Corona.
And
They
hangs
know
out
Dre
with
as a guy who sells.
Martha Stewart.
Yeah, they know, right? They know Dre as a guy who sells headphones. Eminem they still know as a musician.
Yeah. Well, that's right. Hey, Kitty. Now I will tell you the guy that impressed me the most tonight was Dre. Dre really brought it tonight.
You still got it. Have you seen Straight Outta Compton?
I've seen snippets of it. I've not seen the whole thing yet.
I recommend it really highly.
Yeah, what I've seen of it is really good. I just, I'm not the type that sits down and watches movies all that much. I don't know why. I've just gotten to the point where I can't sit for 2 hours to watch a movie, but I can watch a 4-hour football game or or a hockey game or something like that.
I
Or a
couldn't
12-hour
more
LNC
highly
meeting.
recommend that movie. It is fantastic.
I
You
agree.
should watch it. You need
Yeah.
to watch it.
Yeah, it really is good. It's I
I
mean,
guess
it's,
if I can watch a 12-hour LNC meeting and not lose my shit,
yeah, exactly.
I can sit through straight out of Compton. I think that will be a much better time, and I definitely won't lose my shit. So
Well, and then like you can watch small clips about it afterwards, where like Ice Cube's son plays Ice Cube.
Yeah.
And there's a great interview where he talks about the fact he's like, "Yo, Dad, you guys did all this shit." He's like, "Yeah, I might have kept some of that from you." But no, he was amazing, and the story is unbelievable, and just it's a good Liberty story.
Definitely.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly
and he
right.
was the DOWG tonight, man. That was he brought it. That was great.
Yada da da da.
Yeah, one of my friends said that her knee is going to hurt in the morning. I was like, zabadabada. It's my old ass KENWE.
Oh, I thought it was going to be sympathetic because both the quarterbacks had phantom knee injuries. Or no, Stafford was an ankle.
Yeah. Both of those guys almost didn't make it through the game. I mean, I was surprised to see Burrow get up from his hit. His leg got cranked pretty good.
He looked fine coming back in.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, I still can't believe they didn't come up with something better on that 4th and 1.
Yeah. So you're right. They're going to learn and
Run Joe Mixon.
Well, they did the first 4th down, didn't they? No, that was the pass that got broken up, and then he ran on for the first down the second time that they went for it on 4th down.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the Olympics. The Olympics are now going on, and the only reason I'm bringing up the Olympics is there's a new sport this time called the monobob, and every time I see it, I think of the word man boob. I keep seeing man boob every time I see that word, and I know that at some point I'm going to get in trouble because of that.
I have no idea what the monobob is.
So the monobob. So you're familiar with the bobsled?
Yes. So it's a one-person bobsled.
It's a one-person bobsled, which seems inherently dangerous because in the bobsled there's a person that steers who's got their head underneath the.
Yeah.
And then
I don't know why they didn't promote that with.
I think an American won it.
Billy Crystal. What about monobob?
That sounds like it would be hilarious.
Yes.
Have
you been watching much of it?
I watched a fair bit of the Olympics. Here's my, there's all this controversy about the Americans who are competing for China right now.
Oh yeah.
Here's what I want. I want a rule put in for skating and skiing in any event that not only can the people who compete, they have to be from your country, but you have to use music from your country as well. I'm tired of all these countries ice skating to American rock and roll.
But come on, it's good ice dancing. It's beautiful.
It is. We watched some ice dancing today. The American couple, I can't remember their name right now. They did okay. The French dominated it for years.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I think that should be our advantage because we're bad normally at ice dance. But
there was one song, and I can't remember the name of it, and it's a famous song, and it's right on the tip of my tongue. Bolero. I'm sorry. That Bolero was played like 8 times. Like 8 different skaters skated to Bolero, and like it reminded me back when I was in 3rd grade. We had a 3rd grade talent show at my school, and only girls entered the talent show for some reason, and 6 of the 8 performances were the Rose.
Some say love.
First 2 or 3 times you're like, okay. About 5, you're starting to do up the noose and everything. Like it's got to stop. I hate this song right now.
I mean,
I
when you
don't
hear
blame
that,
you.
you hear that, the one thing I can say is just remember that in the winter, far beneath the driven snows, lies a seed that with the sun's love in the spring becomes the rose.
Dan.
I'll be here all night.
I know.
Yeah, you will, unfortunately.
Damn it.
I will on rare occasion, because I am that generation that, like, I was just a teenager when the Rose came out and it was huge and so popular. So I'm pretty sure I still know all the words, and I will occasionally pull it out in karaoke because it's weird, but it's good with a baritone. Like, I mean, you think it needs Bette Midler, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
Bette Midler is currently a persona non grata in the state of West Virginia.
In the state of where?
West Virginia.
Why? Oh, right. I remember that.
Yeah, she when Manchin voted against the Build Back Better thing, she went off and told, well, West Virginians are poor, uneducated, and strung out.
Yeah.
And then, of course, that led to my favorite governor.
Excuse me just a second. I've got to go pee and then throw up, and because the information is not pleasing.
Oh, big Jim Justice. He during the State of the Union earlier last month, or State of the State, put up his dog's ass in the middle of the House chamber and said, "Kiss my dog's ass." Oh, do it for baby dog.
Pucker up. What else in the Olympics? Watching the hockey.
Yeah.
Men and women still alive for America.
Men look really good.
The men did look good. Well, beating Canada was good. They got a little slow against Germany, but they came around.
I think they got that Canada game in their head, and that they should beat Germany. And that Germany is always a trap game for the United States. There's three teams that I hate when the United States plays: Germany, Czech Republic, or Czechia now, and Finland. All three of them always have problems with it. No matter how good or bad those teams are, always have problems with it.
Well, the other thing is, I will, with all due respect to Miracle on Ice, the greatest Olympic hockey story of all time is the year the Czechs won it. And Dominic Hasek said, "You know what? I am not going to let Canada or the United States or the Russians score on me." And it's just unbelievable.
Dominic Hasek made a save in that game against Canada, which I think was the semifinal, on Eric Lindros in the shootout.
Yeah.
That defied logic. And people said, "Oh, well, Lindros hit the side of the net." No, you watch that replay, you see him swing his glove back behind his head and tip that puck out of the way. I mean, it was Dominic Hasek never gave up on anything. It was just amazing to watch him play.
Yeah. Yeah. And he played for Buffalo. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, a little bit.
There was also a first for women's speed skating this year.
Yes, Bonnie Blair.
Yep.
Somebody else won the record now.
Yeah, it was some really freaking impossible time, but the first time an African American woman has won in speed skating.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then of course, being that I am GSM, I am watching all of the GSM individuals inside of the Winter Olympics with both trans and non-binary representation.
Yeah. Yeah. So speed skating, I hadn't had much chance to watch the speed skating yet. I watched I watched the men's and women's Olympic hockey team, and of course I am a freak for curling. Love watching curling.
That is fun.
It's ice bocce.
Yes.
That's the way I describe it. People who don't know what curling is, it's a great sport. And I watch it for guy reasons. There's pretty women playing it, so
I'm not gonna. Yeah.
The Canadian guys are handsome.
They are. They're very handsome. Apparently, Munchkin today wants to be part of this.
Hey, that's
Cats
fine.
are always welcome.
Yeah, cats are always welcome. Mine is too afraid to show up on any of these. Every once in a while, she'll jump up on the thing and then realize that other people can see her, and she freaks out and leaves. But
whereas this cat is she hates the computer. She hates me on the computer. She hates me talking to anybody on the computer, and then she hates me even more when somebody is talking to me on the phone. She tries to be able to knock it out of my hands.
Nice. Got to have that attention, Cats are attention homes.
She's also a 20-pound Maine Coon.
Oh God, I love Maine Coons. I've got a 10-pound Siberian. Oh, very pretty.
That's a good looking cat.
All right, so Ari, let's talk about data analytics.
Yeah, so I started out actually 2 years ago on the Joe Jorgensen campaign.
Okay.
I had what's that joke? What's the difference between a libertarian and an anarchist?
6 weeks.
6 months. Mine was a year and a half, but
There you go.
still, I was being a little bit more principled. I didn't particularly like voting. There's still portions of me that don't like it. But the Libertarian Party is worth voting for because it decreases the amount of hold that the state ends up having. And so here in New Orleans, I started out actually just wanting to be able to do photography for the Jorgensen campaign, particularly focusing in on some of the different information here in Orleans Parish, because it was hugely needed. We had been in the midst of shutdowns. We had a lot of issues with stuff for canceling a lot of the different. Yeah, I have to agree. Munchkin does look much better.
Yes.
We had some issues here with lockdowns, and I had gotten kind of fed up. I ended up meeting with and getting connected with David Naranjo from LP National.
Mm-hmm.
He got me connected with Dave Schrader, who was forming up a volunteer group for data analytics. And we started to be able to do some really interesting stuff. We ended up finding this whole set of modeling that we're now using through other different races throughout the United States. There are about 6 different races that we're working with right now. Ricky Dale Harrington, Chase Oliver, Natalie Bruno, Jenny Cadle, Desiree Lindsay. And then previously I ended up helping out on the run with Ashley Shade and Andrew Kennedy, who both were elected this last cycle. And we were able to use data. We were able to really smartly and succinctly find out what was needed and find out, the tailoring and the modeling that we needed to do. And Dave and our group end up finding a new way of being able to run data that is actually based off of Nolan squares and gets modeling off of the questions that's asked for David Nolan's quiz on finding your political score. And we've been using that in some really interesting ways to be able to find out the propensity of places and people for voting libertarians. And we've been running some testing. We've been doing A/B testing. We've been doing different voter propensity modelings, and it has been proving out really nicely. And in terms of data, I think it's the future of the party. It's where we need to be able to put our money into, and it's where we need to be able to really focus in, because if we don't know what people want to hear, we're not going to win races. The Democrats and the Republicans pump in hundreds of thousands of dollars into analytics to be able to go and find what they need and find how to tailor messages. And, we're kind of getting new at this, but we have this really great amount of very passionate volunteers. I work with 12 individuals in a completely decentralized group that has absolutely zero hierarchy to it. And we've been able to now do 12 races between last year's and this year's. And
so, I mean, Dan and I are old hats at IT and data. And so if you're a candidate watching this, why should someone use data analytics?
You can tailor your message down to the street to know exactly what time to be able to do sign waving, where to do it, and what statistics you can use to show what people will match on with your platform. So let's say you are just as an example, you have a pro GSM platform in your profile, and you want to be able to run on something very specifically that we have here within the LP that we're pressing for, bodily autonomy, and not just bodily autonomy for one group, but bodily autonomy for everyone. You find out where that performs well, what clusters you have in specific areas, what times and types of marketing you can do, and then the testing that you can do, particularly the A/B testing online, has a very extremely low barrier to entry and is not nearly as expensive as people think it is. And so you can do these tests, know what people want to hear, and tailor that message specifically to groups that you find in clusters within your district or within your state.
Following up on that, a lot of libertarians, their reaction is going to be, well, no, but I want to give them my message. Why can't I just give them my message? Why should I tell them what they want to hear?
Well, you can still tell them your message. You can still have your own brand. You can still have your message that you want to be able to give.
Right.
But you want to be able to figure out what's the best way and the most cost-effective way of telling it to people. Because if you have let's say, one of the ones that we ended up testing, and this was the fun one, was when Joe got bit by the bat. And we had a ton of Batwoman memes to be able to go and put out. And so we were able to get specific messaging from those memes and test which ones were actually ended up performing the best. What we ended up doing is something very specific called micro-segmentation. And that goes into very specific groups to be able to go and narrow down which messages perform the best with them. We were able to perform, and I'm doing this right now for Jenny Cadle, is doing and pulling information from going to Pride events so that we can have very specific amounts of data to be able to work with and see what actually resonates with people.
That's excellent. And people watching it, if you're thinking about running for office and you're, trying to get your head around this, being able to target your message, it's not giving up on your principles. It's not giving up on your messaging. It's, we as libertarians have such finite resources that to just willy-nilly spread them around. Like you talked about a sine wave. You you send a sine wave into the deepest blue part of your constituency, and it's all about Second Amendment rights, it's not going to go over well. But if you go over there and you start doing a sine wave talking about criminal justice reform, again, part of your platform, not giving up on your message, you're going to be able to reach that audience, and they're going to say, "Oh, hey, we've been watching the Democrats just give up on criminal justice reform. Let's talk to this person."
Yeah.
So that's the importance of data analytics, and that's the importance of learning how to target your message and speaking to the voters in a language that they want to hear.
One of the
That
things
matches
that
up with your stuff.
I think I've said on this show, and I say in some of the talks I give, is I'll ask the audience and I say, okay, how many people here came to libertarianism because of one key issue? And most people will raise their hands in the audience. And I say, okay, now how many people believe that the general public is libertarian on at least one issue? And everybody raises their hand. I'm like, so the problem's solved. We know that if we can identify that issue, we can bring these people to become activists like everybody in this room. We just have to find that issue and talk to them about it. And the thing is, people will tell you what they want to talk about if you ask them.
It's the whole Spike Cohen way of doing things. He finds what they're passionate about, or you find what they're passionate about. You find what resonates well with them. Here in New Orleans, right now, the passion is for homelessness, houseless individuals, sex workers, and criminal justice reform. And the current DA, for as well as he's done on certain things, has been really failing the system for criminal justice reform. He's put in a few of the different stuff, but like the Democrats that I've talked to have been so angry about the fact that he's not getting to what he promised, that we have an ability to get them to listen to our messaging, to be able to listen to what we have to offer, because as well as the Democrats do on certain things when they're DAs, they're still Democrats, and they're still going to have a limited amount of grasp on what they think is freedom.
Sure.
So targeting those messages, finding what the person is passionate about.
I mean, I like chiding Democrats because they talk about the criminal justice reform, but have really abandoned it just wholesale over the last year, because they've been getting beat up on the message of defund the police. In fact, the Virginia race was really forced onto that defund the police thing, and it scared the old white folks here in Virginia, and turned them out for Youngkin. But they didn't want to own that language. They did not want to own the idea that criminal justice reform doesn't have to be defund the police, or explain what defund the police is in a way that people say, oh, okay, that makes sense. Instead of buying tanks, that's what I say when we defund the police. You got to give up your tanks. You don't need tanks. You got to give up your automatic weapons. You got to give up you got to give up the training that treats everyone like a hostile combatant over in Fallujah. Those are the things that should be defunded. And then we talk about community policing and more training on how to deal with people having a mental state or things like that. So, but they just heard the Republicans complain about defunding the police, and they abandoned it.
Yeah, I'm looking at one of the things that James is saying is choppers are for the Army, not for the city police. And one of the things that I had to give props to the former DA here in New Orleans was that they ended up, both of these terms, decreasing the amount of money that the Orleans parish and NOPD ended up getting for like their tactical vehicles. Yeah. And they've actually put their money where their mouth is. And I'll give props to Jason Williams where it's due. But there's still so much more to do.
Oh yeah.
And the non-for-profits here in the city have a lot of work to be able to get done. Because if you ever get your bar license here in New Orleans, you cannot practice law anywhere else because of the system of law that we end up having. We are
Really?
still under Napoleonic law.
Wow.
That is crazy. I didn't
Yeah.
know that you couldn't train, or you can't be barred anywhere else.
Nope.
Wow.
I mean, you can go and test for the bar, but if you study law here, you can only practice law here with that.
Oh, okay. So it's an exclusivity. There's no reciprocity when it comes to New Orleans-based attorneys. Wow. I mean, that's
Louisiana, all of Louisiana.
yeah, that's very protective. I'm sure the local bar association loves that. So,
But getting back to the data points, I've been lucky with the races that I'm on right now, and getting the data that I've been able to get my hands onto. You know, I'm thankful for the work that is being done over at LP National to be able to go and get us and get our hands on some of those really large data sets. And I'm talking like hundreds of thousands of data points to be able to go and scroll through. And
So let's talk about that. What's in those data points that allows you to do that segmentation?
so when we're doing the micro segmentation, we tend to focus in on the community itself. We tend to pull directly from whatever district that individual is in, whether it be Senate or House district or like whole state. It needs to be done individually, and it usually has to be done in a way that is more contemporary, and it's a little bit more localized, because older data can be okay, but it's a little bit more of a shot in the park. And especially when you're talking about microsegmentation, let's say you want to go for veterans. We're going to have some very specific topics that we're going to talk about when we're targeting and messaging to veterans. Or even like, let's say one of the ones that I want to be able to do for Jenny is police. She has a very unique message for the way that she's doing stuff for her police messaging. And it's a completely different way of engaging them, that she backs the blue, but she's putting in language that makes it so that it doesn't seem like she's wanting to do the whole defund the police. Or
So I want to go back up to this thing though. So you said, if you're going to have a message targeting veterans, that's great. I think a lot of candidates want to do that. What's the secret sauce? How do I'm running for office, find all the veterans in my district?
So a lot of it is available on several different aggregate sites. We use L2 and Haystack to be able to go and get our data from. And so that has a lot of the records that we need to be able to go and kind of pull from, particularly L2. And L2 has an unnerving amount of data. If you get a call like in the middle of the day from a telemarketer, more than likely they are getting your data from L2 or a site that is similar. There's a ton of different sites, but data now is becoming cheaper, and we can find those people to be able to pull from just by getting the lists that we need from these different sites.
And so I've heard people say, "Oh, I can't afford to go out and get data," but
Yeah,
can you make the argument that they can't afford not to get that data?
If they don't have a focused message on their community that their community actually wants to hear, they're not going to win their race. Like, that's just plain and simple.
Yep.
If you can have the greatest campaign in the world and the most, libertarian messaging out there, but if you don't know what people want to hear and what they are keyed into, your race is not going to be able to reach the people that it needs. So yeah, it's not going to work.
So
I find that a very compelling argument. And I would say the other thing is that for candidates who are out there, it's a good fundraising opportunity to go to your biggest donors and say,
Yep.
hey, you could give us money that allows us to go out there and buy this list. We want to target veterans or gun owners and all that stuff, like you said, is in the haystack. I just want to point out for people who don't know, haystack is STAQ, haystack DNA. It's worth looking up. I have been through the same data sets. I had to process all the L2 data from Joe's campaign, and it is astonishing what's in there, because not only is there how you feel on every issue, but then there's a score for that as well. And
Yep.
so it's one thing to say that somebody might be pro-choice or pro-life, but if their score is low, they don't really care. It's not a big issue for them. On the other hand, if you find out that you see somebody's got a score of 99 on it, you're like, this is the first thing that I should talk to them about. Stuff like that. Getting that data is critical. And and most candidates, like, they don't know where to start on fundraising. Start on fundraising with your big donors. Get the big list, and then, having done that fundraising practice with the big donors, now you have the list, and you know who to talk to about what, raising with them.
Yeah. So those lists are so important to have, because you can find out where your clusters are in terms of where specific people and certain subjects cluster. You can find out like the times of days that people like even events. Like, it's crazy the amount of data that these places end up having on people, and just how much is available for purchase. But I will also say it's not nearly as expensive as people think it is. A couple $1,000s will actually go a very long way in terms of the newer data sets and some of the newer things that L2 and Haystack are doing. It's not nearly as expensive as it used to be.
Right.
Hey, Aaron, it's good to see you.
Aaron's a good dude.
So invest in it. It is going to be an absolute game changer for the LP if we really start investing in very solid data analytics. And your states have gurus. Your states have people who are good with data. Go through those volunteer lists. Once you have that okay from your state, yeah, I got you a couple dozen.
No, that couple thousand won't even get you into the Super Bowl. It was 8,000 was the average ticket at the Super Bowl this year. Yikes! I don't need to go.
I had a friend who he's an entertainment lawyer in Los Angeles, so makes a good living. But his son is a huge Rams fan. We grew up together in Galveston, Texas. His son is a huge Rams fan. And so he's like, Rams are in the Super Bowl. Let's plan a big party. It's like, I'll handle all the invitations. Let's invite everybody, blah, 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 blah. And then the day of the Super Bowl this morning, he's like, we're going to have to cancel the party. He's like, why? He's like, because I got 2 tickets to the Super Bowl.
Oh my God.
And so he filmed the whole thing. The kid's reaction is unbelievable. It's just awesome. So
That's amazing. I like if my Giants made the Super Bowl, I don't know. If I had the money, I don't know. I would very it'll be very hard for me. And the price of these tickets are only going up next year, and they're going to go up in perpetuity.
Sure, sure.
I'm not going to drop 10 grand on a game. Like,
Well, because it wouldn't be 10 grand because you'd have to take your wife.
yeah.
And that's sort of like where I am with it too. Like I could easily spend I went to the 2004 World Series for the Red Sox to watch them break the curse to game 2. Cold as crap, by the way.
Oh yeah.
But if the Cowboys were to go back to the Super Bowl, and I grew up in Texas, Cowboys are my team, I would try to get in there, but I wouldn't spend the price of a car on that.
No.
I mean, it's worth $1,000 maybe, but I don't know that I would do more than that.
Well, the problem is these tickets go on the market, and I know that they're as soon as they hit the market, they're snapped up by the resellers, and the resellers will just jack up I mean, it goes into an open bidding war for all these tickets.
It's why one of my jobs that I wish I'd spent more time with, a company called GigaPass. And what they did was, do you know what a Dutch auction is? So the idea is that they say, so what GigaPass would do is when an artist was touring at every venue, they would get 5,000 tickets to the venue given to the artist. And then they would sell them in what's called a Dutch auction. And so everybody gets to bid. And whatever is the lowest bid that sells all 5,000 tickets, that's what everybody pays for their price. So if you want to come in and bid, let's say you could spend 10,000, but the lowest bidder that would sell all the tickets was 700, you would get your tickets at $700. But what it does is it means that you don't have to worry about there being any unsold tickets, because everybody gets in there and bids, and whatever is the average number, that's what it sells at. And people get time, and they sort of know whether or not they're the lowest bid. If they've been outbid, they don't have the lowest bid, they can up their lowest bid thing. Doesn't affect the people at the top because they came in with a high number, but the people at the bottom, it bumps it up. But it means that if you really wanted to go, you can always get a ticket. You just have to be willing to pay for it. Whereas sometimes, we went to, hockey's different, right? Hockey's still really cheap for, relatively speaking.
Relatively cheap.
To the Bulls Bruins game 5 in Chicago, and that was only $5 a ticket.
But I went to. My wife got me tickets to see Buffalo back when they were good, back in 2006. A game in Atlanta. We got tickets like three rows from the glass next to the bench, and it was for $275 for the pair.
Yeah.
That
was a good Atlanta team though. With
it was a good Atlanta team. It had Marian Hossa, Ilya Kovalchuk. You had Alexei Zhitnik. You had Kari Lettinen in net. It was a good team. That was the only year that they made the playoffs that season.
Yeah. I remember that team well. And that kid, the guy who had the car crash.
Danny Heatley was already traded. He got traded to Ottawa for Marian Hossa. That's how they got Hossa that year. The Danny Heatley and Dan Snyder car crash.
We always degenerate into this. So tell me about Danny Heatley and data segmentation.
Let's talk about.
I have no clue, but I did actually want to be able to comment on the one from James Savina. Yeah, the Dems and the Republicans definitely use the ever-living shnikes out of it. Like their
in fact,
budget,
they have their own proprietary systems, right?
Yeah.
Yes, they do. There was a guy from the Democrats that during my time with the Jorgensen campaign tried to be able to headhunt me, and very nicely and eloquently told him to go and sod off. It's the budgets that they're working with are hundreds of thousands of dollars. And this comes from being major parties and having that money and backing from two very large, very well-funded parties.
Yeah, I remember if you're a Democrat, you're kind of forced into their proprietary system. Like I think that's Act Blue, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so Act Blue has been really, if you want to know why Barack Obama beat Mitt Romney, they were the first really to just micro target and use their data for that purpose, and really just ran circles around the Romney campaign. Now the Republicans, I think theirs is Win Red, I think is their
Yeah, it
system.
is.
So they're in the game. I still think that they're a little behind the Democrats when it comes to big data, but they have money. I mean, they both have just tons of money in the systems, and and we have our system. I mean, we've got the uh, CRM system for the LP, and we're integrating a lot of that data from L2, and we're making our system much more robust. But again, we're starting from a much lower, uh, you know, number of people that are in the system, and versus the 80 some odd million that voted for Joe Biden and the 75 million that voted for Donald Trump. We have a lower threshold, but I think what we're investing in is making it smarter. And you're starting to see wins like Ashley and Andy and those folks out in the in these targeted races where it's local. You can get that information and get that message in front of people, and I think that's that's only going to benefit us in the long run.
Well, using data smartly and getting a good return on an investment is decidedly very much needed because, we are smaller. We've had tremendous growth over this last, several years. When Joe ended up running the few years after, we ended up seeing like a 3,000% growth in membership. And just looking at some of the different data, they didn't all stay on, but we've gotten some really good people from it. We've gotten some really great people who are now running. We have, the highest percentage and amount of elected libertarians to, state office. And some of them use data, some of them don't. Some of them are targeted races, others are more long term. And we are going to be able to tailor this smartly so that we can end up using this data and just run around what the Democrats and Republicans are doing. Because we have people who have good skill sets. We have the time and the ability to invest in individuals. And we have this great ability to be able to do some great stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about the news. Right, we had alluded to it earlier. So this week, Canada had been gripped in a large protest with a bunch of truckers filing into the capital of Ottawa, and also sitting on a bridge into the United States to kind of protest the COVID measures. It has gotten very. It's been a very interesting. Um, oh yeah, Dan, we'll wrap at 11:30. It's been very interesting to see this go as long as it did. They did clear the protesters in on the bridge this morning. Finally
Yeah.
cleared all them out. But there's rumor that this might spread to the United States, and we're starting to see politicians within some of the more blue states, I will say, start to mitigate some of their policies when it comes to COVID, especially on the lockdowns, the masking requirements. Los Angeles just waived their masking requirements very conveniently before the Super Bowl started. So um, I don't know. What do you feel that this is more of a political ploy, knowing that the midterms are coming up?
I do look at it, at least with some cities. Um, I look at the politics of it. Like I'm vaxxed, and I've worked previously in the medical industry. Like I ended up working for a couple of different researchers, and I look at and love the science, but I don't like the mandates. Like it's so uneven, and it's so like ham-fisted, and the ways that it's implemented actually further marginalizes minority groups in a lot of different places. And so I see the frustration with people, and I see what the truckers did, and then the reaction to them, and then this kind of spiraling with the whole protest turned whatever the heck was happening with that. But I'll opine with the other stuff. I do think that for a lot of the different cities, it's definitely a political move.
I just want to follow up on that. I'm in the same boat, so I am vaxxed and boosted.
Yep.
I believe I mean, there's not even a question. The numbers show that it's much safer. However, it's statistically much safer, but statistically, COVID doesn't kill that many people either, in terms of what your definition of a statistic is, right? Something that kills a lot of people would kill over 10% of the population. Chris Rock has a great joke. He's like, West Nile disease can't be that bad, because if it were, they'd just call it the Nile disease. So, it's one of those things that we have to recognize what the truth of the matter is. There are vulnerable populations that are benefited, but the mandates are always wrong. And anytime that we've ever tried to do something, it never works out and always creates resentment. And it's important for us to support the people who say, we're not going to go along with government mandates. I mean, this is bodily autonomy 101.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nobody gets to stick anything into your body. Nobody gets to take anything out of your body without your permission.
Exactly.
Nobody should touch you without your consent. And so when we talk about what this represents, and the one other thing I'll say about it is that talking about masking, both sides are being incredibly, in my opinion, unreasonable about this and hiding some obvious truths. So First of all, the idea that the masks do nothing is clearly not true, because you can spread it by spitting on somebody. Okay. If I can't spit on you because I'm wearing a mask, the mask is at least to some degree somewhat effective. On the other hand, it's also very clear that masks, certainly cloth masks, loose fitting, stuff like that, are not particularly effective at containing COVID.
Or the mask worn like right here, or
masks worn down here. But I mean, even cloth masks worn appropriately are still not particularly effective. And
you with that data, like you need at least a minimum of 2 layers, if not a third with an insert.
And the best example of it is there is no difference in the states that had mask mandates and the states that didn't. Right?
Yep.
If you look at, I think West Virginia never had a mask mandate, right?
No, not a mask mandate. No.
Okay. So Massachusetts did, New York did, California did. They didn't do any better than West Virginia. In fact, I'd argue that they did significantly worse, even per capita.
Yeah.
Tennessee never had a mask mandate. That's the example that I know the numbers for. The places that didn't have mask mandates everybody there didn't die. Their hospitals didn't overfill any more than anybody else's.
Yeah.
It didn't really make a significant difference because masks they have an effect, and a lot of people voluntarily were wearing them anyway.
And I think Bill Maher was right about this when he went after Democrats on this issue, that the amount of fear mongering, like, you don't wear a mask, you're killing your grandmother, or you're killing everyone. Like, and there is data out there that tells you how deadly this virus is, and Omicron was a very pervasive variant, but it wasn't as deadly as, say, the Delta variant or the original variant. Because viruses do what viruses do. They mutate and they move beyond. And we weren't vaccinating Africa, which is where some of these mutations were developing, because I had to get my third booster before Africa gets anything. Uh, this whole thing, the whole thing eventually is going to be this wonderful case study of why you should never let politicians run a pandemic response, because they used it to grandstand, they used it to get reelected, but they didn't use it to really use science and use data to make any really valid decisions. It was, what's going to sell the papers today, what's going to get me votes, what's going to get me campaign donations, rather than why are we doing this, what is the downstream effect of it. It's just everything for today, everything for the next money grab, and that's it.
Well, it's here in my city. The issue that we ended up having was it's so unevenly enforced, and it's been weaponized against communities.
Yeah.
One of the issues that we ran into was that during Pride, they wouldn't allow for a single block party for any of the GSM clubs within the entirety of the city. And yet now during Mardi Gras, the bars that they liked were able to have block parties at the beginning of the year for 12th night. No problem. Decadence, we were completely shut down for decadence. We were completely shut down in terms of a whole bunch of different stuff. And so, the issue that I have is that I've seen what it's done to communities, how it's weaponized against gender and sexual minorities, against BIPOC individuals. And I wanted to cry, because there was a third generation owned Black restaurant in a now predominantly white neighborhood that literally every day was getting reported for masking violations. They were getting fined thousands of dollars because they couldn't prove that they were enforcing masking, because it's the word of the neighbor against that of the business owner. And so,
Yep.
weaponizing this is just, it's dangerous.
Yep.
And to end on a slightly better note than this one, I wanted to be able to let all of the followers for here and you, David, know, just at the beginning of this month, I am the first elected GSM individual on the parish executive committee for the Libertarian Party.
Hey,
I am
excellent.
the first trans person on a political executive committee for the entire state of Louisiana.
Excellent.
Well done.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thanks for carrying that flag for us.
Talk about your group that's doing data analytics. If somebody wants to get involved, how can they get involved?
You can reach out to me by my email, ARIGABREK at gmail.com. So it's
Thanks
my
for
first
finding us,
name
Paul.
and last name at gmail.com.
That it?
Yep, that's it.
There we go. So if you're interested in getting involved in data analytics for libertarian races, you want to get your campaign involved in this group, please reach out to Ari and we'll get the ball rolling on that. Ari, thank you so much for joining us this week. I really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
You are very, 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 very much welcome to come back anytime, and we'll be happy to have you.
Definitely. Thank you, David. And it was
All right.
nice seeing you again, Dan. I'm
Good to see you
one of
again,
these
Ari.
days gonna get you involved in my data analytics group. You need to
I
come.
am excited. Well, I'll tell you what, it's interesting. I just wrote a whole bunch of parsing programs because you know how that L2 data had all those different headers? It was like 800 columns wide. So I wrote a parsing program that essentially you transpose the header, and then you list what table and what field you want to put it into, and then it can run through all the fields and essentially load everything. It was awesome. So all the haystack data, stuff like that, put it all into a big MySQL database. It's very exciting.
Nice. I'm gonna pest you again, and I'm gonna get you to volunteer for us because
Dan, give a plug for People for Liberty.
People for Liberty, we got a bunch of things coming up. Our big one is in April. We're going to be at Bitcoin Miami, but also coming up, there's going to be a nice article in Reason Magazine about People for Cuba, which is a partner of People for Liberty. So we're doing a lot of exciting things right now. And like I said, I just finished this all this massive data project, and we've assembled the beginning of what we're calling the critically analyzed Liberty list, the call, answering the call. And so we have a database now with about 5 million Liberty people in it. And we have pretty good issue related information on them, stuff like that. And we're looking forward to, helping people out. And one of the other things that we're interested in doing right now is that if people want to, especially campaigns and candidates, they can send us their data and we will send it back organized, decorated with all the extra information that they have. And so there's a real value to candidates who want to do some sort of data exchange with us. And this is not party specific. If you're a Republican, a Democrat, whoever, we're happy to help you with your data issues. So
Excellent.
Candidates, please reach out to us. My name is Dan. My email address is dan@peopleforliberty.org. The number 4, dan@peopleforliberty.org.
And the website is people4liberty.org.
Yep.
All right. And and last little plug here, my friend Travis Rednick runs the Deep End Antiques in Beckley, West Virginia. They are our show sponsor. If you are interested in crystals, if you're interested in Army surplus, if you're interested in some of the great glassware of West Virginia, take a trip into Beckley, West Virginia, and hit my friend Travis Rednick up at the Deep End Antiques. You can see the website there, visit there to get some ideas of what's going on there, and would really love to have you come out to Beckley, beautiful Beckley, West Virginia. So thanks everyone for joining us this week on the Political Deep Dive. Next week we have Christine Womack running for LPPA chair, and she'll be on with us, and I look forward to that show, and I look forward to seeing everyone next week.